Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us here on The Guardian. And here we are on this beautiful, gorgeous Thursday. And I'm not sure exactly where you're at today, but here in South Mississippi, it's a beautiful day. And it feels like about maybe 69, 70 degrees outside. And it feels wonderful. When I start a video, I always start off by asking you to subscribe if you have not already subscribed to the channel. I would encourage you to do so. We are pushing, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Last I checked, we were at 978, so we are almost there. And so if you haven't already subscribed, please go and do so. And as I do also every video, I love to remind you that your vote counts. And there is a push out there from the left. They're trying to discourage people and making people think that their vote doesn't count. But I like to remind you that your vote does count. And so let's get out there and let's vote whenever it's time. I wrote an article, and today we're going to be talking about guns. And I want to talk about, I want to talk about why taking guns away is a bad idea. There seems to always be some kind of push in the nation, for either more gun control or to even take away, the guns of the people, or, to try to eliminate, exactly what kind of guns, putting a ban on certain guns. I wrote an article, probably a year or two ago on why every American should own a gun. And I wrote that article and then I came back, I got, man, you talking about the liberals just nailing me, and hitting me pretty hard, about that article. And because of that, I backtracked a little bit and I wrote an article on why every American should own 4 guns. And I wrote an article a few weeks, this has been a couple years ago, but on why every American should own a gun. And that article came under a lot of fire. And because of that, I said, you know what? I don't believe that you should own just one gun. I believe you ought to own 4 guns. And I listed in that article, and you could go read about that on my danqcar.com website, that article there. But the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and that shall not be infringed. And so that is shall not be infringed. And there you can read, I have my George Washington quote from back in January of a long time ago, 1790. And you can read that there. And it's just talking about, once again, that the people, we should have a right to bear arms and have, not just the arms, but also the ammunition, to supply these arms. And so I want to just mention several reasons why I believe that taking guns away is a bad idea. When you look at, let me just bring out one example, just recent. Look at Ukraine. Whenever Russia invaded Ukraine, one of the things that Ukraine was having to pass out was guns and ammo to the people in order that they could defend themselves. Listen to me very carefully. If another country invaded America, number one, I don't think they'd ever get past our military. But just say if they did, the United States military, they're not going to have to pass out weapons, at least not in Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama and Texas and Kentucky and southern states. They're not going to have to pass out guns. We have plenty of guns, and we are not lacking in that area. And so we have plenty of guns and plenty of ammunition. And I believe that is the right of every single American, every single citizen of the United States of America. And, as long as, they're not some kind of criminal, some violent criminal, we have the right to own and bear guns. And whenever you look at Ukraine, and Russia was invading in Ukraine, and they were having to pass out weapons, you wouldn't have to do that here in America. Now, after some time, we will need to get resupplied with ammunition. But as far as weapons are concerned, as far as guns, we're good. And we'll have enough ammunition to last, quite some time. But we will need to be get resupplied. And so I want to mention several things on why taking away guns is a bad idea. Number one, I just gave you a great example of just recent, there, and we'll talk about this again, about Ukraine and how in Ukraine they were having to pass out weapons so people could protect themselves because Russia was invading. And if Russia invaded here in the United States of America, number one, like I said a while ago, they wouldn't get past our military. But secondly, and most importantly, we are very well armed. And I would say outside of our military that the United States of American citizen is probably the most well-armed military in the world. And we have more guns, more ammunition, and then I'm not counting our military, of course, but I'm talking about all these other militaries. It's unbelievable at what we have and what we should have and what we have the right to have underneath the Constitution. And so always go back to the Constitution, because the Constitution, that document, gives us the right. That Second Amendment gives us the right to own and to bear arms. Number one, so that brings me to my number one thing that I wrote here on MississippiConservativeClub.com. You can read about the article. I'll put the article in the links, and you can go to the article and read it. But the number one thing is infringement on the Second Amendment rights. We have our God-given rights. We have the rights to bear arms. And whenever you go to try to take away our guns, well, you're infringing on our Second Amendment rights. And where's it going to stop? It's not going to stop. And the moment they take away your guns, the moment that they disarm the citizen, it's going to continue to go downhill from there, and it's just going to get bad. I mean, just look at all these other countries. And it's unbelievable at what's happening in a lot of these other countries because they don't have what we have whenever it comes to the Constitution and our Second Amendment rights. I'm going to tell you the second reason is you don't have no way to defend yourself. You lose your self-defense. Let me ask you a question. What are you going to do if somebody breaks into your house? Well, thankfully, we have the police that we can call. We can call 911, and they're going to get there as soon as they can. And I'm so thankful for our law enforcement, and they do such a good job. But at the end of the day, you make a phone call. Somebody has to answer the phone. They have to enter in your address. Seconds are ticking. Minutes are ticking. And so by that time, the person that is invading your home, the person that is breaking in your home has already come in, and they've already done the harm. And so that is why it is so important that you and I, that we own guns. And let me just stop right here and just say this as well. You don't just need to own a gun. You need to learn how to shoot it. It's one thing to own a gun, but it's another whole thing to learn how to shoot that gun. Learn how to load it, and learn how to aim it, and learn how to hit your target. And somebody said to me, well, why don't you just, have faith in God, that God's going to take care of you? Absolutely, I've got faith in God that he's going to help me shoot the person that is breaking into my home and trying to kill my family. And so, but whenever you take away your guns, then you lose that defense mechanism that you have in order to protect your family. Listen, if somebody breaks into my home, God help them. I wouldn't want to hurt anybody, but at the end of the day, we have to protect our family. And whenever you take away, think about the single mother, and how that gun can help her. Think about the elderly, the grandma and the grandpa and the elderly, and that gun can help them protect themselves. And it is so very important. The next thing is if you take guns away, and why it's a bad idea. It is you leave a defenseless population. I talked about Ukraine earlier and how they were defenseless against Russia. Here in America, we are not defenseless. You invade here, we're going to protect ourselves. But if you take away our guns, then we can't protect ourselves. And so it's important. It is important that we have our guns and that we are able to defend our home and our land. But if you take away the guns, then you lose that. Let me just say this. Somebody said, well, if you take away the guns, then you'll have no more gun crime. Are you serious? I mean, are you kidding me? When do criminals follow the law? They're criminals because they don't follow the law. We have rules against stealing, but yet people still steal. We have rules against all kind of things, and people still break the law. We have rules about following the speed limit. People still break the law. And so you got to take guns away from people. The only people that are going to give up their guns are law-abiding citizens, therefore leaving the criminals their weapons, and we're going to leave the criminals in charge. And so criminals are not going to follow the law. Number one, if they say, okay, we're going to turn in our guns, and then say we all turn in our guns, which that ain't happening. I'm not turning in my guns, but just say we did. Us law-abiding citizens, and that's one law that I'm willing to break, but just say us law-abiding citizens, say we followed the law and we turned in our guns. The criminal is not going to turn in their gun. The government and whoever else wants us to turn in our guns, they can kick rocks, they can fly a kite. I'm not turning in my guns, and nor is, millions of other citizens in the great United States of America. It's not happening. And so the criminals are not going to follow the law. Some of them even have guns illegally. They're not going to follow the law. They're not obeying the law. They're not breaking into your home to help you. They're breaking in your home to kill you and to steal from you. And if you have a weapon, if you have a gun, you can protect yourself. And so criminals are not going to follow the law. So that's another reason why it's a bad idea, to take away the guns of the people. Another thing, it causes a deterrence. I see a lot of different signs, at different restaurants or different businesses, and they say, this property is being protected by, and it has a person holding a 357. A criminal is going to think twice before they break in that place. They're going to think twice before they go breaking and entering in a place where they know that the owner has a gun. They're going to think twice. And of course, they want to break in to places where they don't have guns. And so it can deter criminals whenever you have and you own a gun. It's going to help. And let me just say this, that whenever you take away the guns, the reason why it's a bad idea, because it's a slippery slope. That is not going to be the end. There's a reason that the government wants to disarm the citizens. There's a reason why in Ukraine they wanted to disarm the citizen. When you disarm the citizen, you could do whatever you want as the government. And these corrupt governments around the world, of course, they want to disarm the people. And the reason is because they don't have the people's interests at the forefront. It is the interest of their own. It is the interest of their government. That's why all of those people have guns. They're being protected by guns, but yet they want to take your guns away. Well, as I said earlier, they can drop dead. I'm not turning in my guns. It's not happening. But it's a slippery slope whenever whenever the citizens are disarmed. And so we need to push back against that. The next thing is you talk about the potential for the black market. There's a black market for a lot of things. And if you go start taking away the guns of the citizen, we're going to find ways to own guns, and it'll be through the black market. And so that's another reason why it's a bad idea, to take guns away from the people. And then another, you disarm the vulnerable. As I talked about earlier, you have a single mother, you have people that the elderly, and it's good for them to have a gun. They can protect themselves. There are so many stories out there of elderly protecting themselves when somebody breaks into their home because they have a gun. So how are you going to stop a bad guy with a gun? A good guy with a gun. That's why when somebody breaks into your home with a gun, who do you call? You call somebody to come, and guess what they have? They have a gun, and they are the good guys, and they're coming to protect you. Why not go ahead and have protection? Why not go ahead and you have a gun? And so it's important. And lastly, let me just say, it is violating the principle of responsibility. Let me explain. Ultimately, it is my responsibility to protect my home. Now, I thank God for the police department, and I've had to call them a time or two. I'm thankful for them, 100%. I believe and I support the blue 100%. But it is my responsibility as the father of my home, as my dad's children, it is my responsibility to protect my home. So if somebody breaks in, yes, my wife will call 911, but I'm going to go confront the perpetrator face to face, gun to gun if need be, to protect my home. It is my responsibility. And then let me say this about responsibility. As a gun owner, it is important that we are responsible. Listen, I don't just have my guns laying around the house. And for that, I need to take a drink of my sweet tea. I don't just have guns laying around the house. I have a safe. And in that safe, it is locked. My children cannot get to my guns. I have them in a safe. I don't have guns laying on the counter. I don't have guns laying around the house. That's not the case. I believe in responsible gun ownership. I believe that we need to teach our children the importance of gun safety and how they need to handle a gun. And we need to teach them to make sure that every gun you treat it as it's loaded. Every gun. You treat it like it's loaded. It just takes one mess up, and it's done. And so we need to teach our children the responsibility of guns. We need to teach our children what guns can do. We need to teach our children about the importance of owning guns. We need to teach our children how to shoot a gun. And it's important that we don't just let them, I don't give my children a gun to play with. Absolutely not. It doesn't happen. I teach them that you have to be responsible. You don't point these guns at people. I mean, you're responsible with the gun. And so I think it's important that we have guns. I think it's important that we are responsible with these guns. And so if not, there'll be not good things happen. Thank you for tuning in today. As I said in the beginning, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video, help spread the word. And YouTube isn't going to do us any favors, and help us get our message out. It's going to be because of you helping me get our message out here on The Guardian. And we love doing the show. Tomorrow we're going to talk about life and about abortion and about what just took place in Ohio. And we're going to talk about that because they're coming. They're coming south. And they're going to come to Mississippi, and they're going to come to Louisiana, and they're going to come to Alabama, and they're going to want to try to enact abortion into our Constitution. And so it's coming. And so we're going to continue to stand and fight for life. We're going to continue to stand and fight for the Second Amendment and the things that we believe in. And we're going to continue to stand and fight for your vote counts. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I believe with all my heart 100% that your vote does count. Thank you for joining us on The Guardian. I appreciate it very much. God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.